The average teenager today sends over 3,000 text messages a month, not to parents, not to teachers, but to peers. For the first time in history, that may be the most serious parenting crisis no one is naming. Welcome to Whispering Pages. If you're here just for the summary, skip to the next chapter. For the rest of us, let's ease in. Notice the sounds around you right now, the quiet of the room, the weight of where you're lying. Just arrive here. The moments before sleep are among the most receptive your brain will know. What you hear tonight consolidates while you rest. Tonight, Hold On to Your Kids by Gordon Neufeld and Gabor, the book that named a crisis hiding in plain sight. Get comfortable. Close your eyes if you'd like. And let's whisper through this one together. Gordon Neufeld is a Canadian developmental psychologist with over 40 years of clinical experience working with children, parents, and educators. His character, Gabor, is a physician best known for his work on the relationship between stress, emotional development, and illness. They first worked together when Mate turned to Neufeld for help with his own child, a collaboration that ultimately produced this book. Hold On to Your Kids was first published in 2004 and substantially expanded a decade later to address the rise of digital life. It has been translated into dozens of languages and is considered required reading in some teacher training programs across Canada and Europe. The book opens with a deceptively simple question: why has parenting become so hard? Parents today love their children as much as parents ever have. They have more books, more courses, more expert advice than any generation before them. And yet, something is not working. Children seem less reachable. Authority has quietly eroded. Even deeply loving parents describe feeling like strangers to their own kids. Neufeld's answer is not that parents are failing. It's that the context for parenting has been quietly stolen. Here is the foundation of everything in this book. For parenting to work, a child must be actively attaching to the adult who is raising them. Not just liked by them or cared for by them, but oriented toward them. The child's brain must be pointed at the parent the way a compass needle points north. When that orientation is in place, children absorb values naturally, accept guidance without coercion, and remain teachable even when they push back. But here is what's happening instead. For the first time in human history, children are being raised primarily by each other. Their deepest attachments, the ones that shape who they are, have migrated away from parents, teachers, and adult mentors and toward their peers. And immature people cannot bring other immature people to maturity. That is the crisis at the heart of this book. Neufeld calls this peer orientation. It is not the same as having friends. Children have always had friends. The problem is when peers replace parents as the primary source of a child's sense of identity, belonging, and direction. When that happens, parents lose the power to parent, not because they've done anything wrong, but because their child is no longer oriented toward them. To understand why peer orientation is so damaging, you have to understand how attachment actually works in children's brains. Neufeld describes attachment as having 6 layers, each one deeper and more emotionally complex than the last. Children first attach through the senses: proximity, touch, sight. Then they attach through sameness, wanting to be like those they love. Then through belonging and loyalty. Then through significance, wanting to matter to someone. Then through emotional closeness, sharing the inner world. And finally, through being fully known, the deepest layer of all, where a child feels seen and understood even in their worst moments. Healthy development means moving through these layers gradually, building toward that final depth of connection with the people raising them. Peer orientation doesn't eliminate this progression, it hijacks it. The child moves through all 6 layers, just with the wrong people. And immature peers can only ever offer the first few. They can offer sameness, they can offer belonging, but they cannot offer the unconditional acceptance that allows a child to be truly known. That gap is exactly where the damage accumulates. So how did we get here? Neufeld traces the roots to structural changes in modern life: the fragmentation of extended family, the rise of age-segregated schooling, the erosion of the multi-generational village that once surrounded every child. When those structures collapsed, an orientation void opened up. And into that void, peers rushed in, not because children chose them deliberately, but because the brain will always orient to someone. If an adult isn't available, the nearest same-age companion will do. Once peer orientation takes hold, it does something to parents that feels deeply confusing. It strips them of their natural authority without any obvious fight. Neufeld calls this being sabotaged. Consider what he calls counterwill. Every healthy child has it. It's the instinctive resistance that rises whenever a child feels pushed, controlled, or coerced. In a well-attached child, counterwill is manageable. It creates healthy friction without severing the relationship. But when a child is peer-oriented, counterwill intensifies dramatically. Commands that once produced mild resistance now produce outright defiance. Requests that once landed now seem to bounce off. The harder parents push, the more the child digs in. This is not disobedience in the ordinary sense. It's the immune response of a child whose primary attachment is now elsewhere. The parent is no longer the compass point, so the parent's words no longer carry orienting weight. They register as pressure, not guidance. And counterwill rises to push that pressure away. What makes this especially painful is that the very strategies parents reach for in these moments, more rules, more consequences, more enforcement, make the problem worse. Each confrontation that ends in coercion chips away further at the attachment that would make parenting effective. Neufeld is direct about this. Force cannot restore what only connection can rebuild. Then there's what he calls the flatlining of culture. In every healthy society across history, values flowed vertically, from elders to children, from one generation to the next. This transmission was never just deliberate teaching. It was absorbed through attachment. Children wanted to be like the people they were attached to, so they naturally took on the language, values, rituals, and ways of seeing the world that those adults carried. Peer orientation reverses this flow. When children orient primarily to each other, culture begins to move horizontally, across rather than down. And because peers are immature, the culture they generate lacks wisdom, lacks history, lacks the accumulated weight of human experience. It is thin, it is fast, and it is aggressively resistant to anything that comes from the adult world. Neufeld uses a striking image here. He says we are watching, in real time, the flatlining of culture, a word usually associated with the moment a heart stops. Something vital has gone quiet in the transmission from generation to generation. Not through war or plague, but through an invisible shift in attachment. And then there is the digital dimension, which Neufeld and Maté address in a later section of the book added for the 2014 edition. They argue that the digital revolution was shaped by peer orientation, not the other way around. Young people didn't become peer-oriented because of social media. Rather, they repurposed technology to solve a problem peer orientation had already created: how to stay close to peers when physically apart. The technology was designed for information. It was redesigned from the inside out as an attachment machine. And because the connection it offers is shallow, built on sameness and performance rather than genuine closeness, it creates more hunger than it satisfies. Researchers cited in the book found biochemical changes in the brains of internet-addicted young people similar to those found in people dependent on alcohol or other substances. Empty connection is not neutral. It makes genuine connection harder to reach. What do peer-oriented children actually look like? They turn away from adults. They treat parental interest as intrusion. They guard their inner lives from the people raising them while opening those same inner lives to peers. They lose curiosity, because curiosity requires the safety that only a secure adult attachment can provide. They become aggressive, because aggression is what immature creatures use to navigate a world without wise guides. They become bullies or become victims, not because of character flaws, but because they are being raised by people who are as lost as they are. One of the most important ideas in this book is what Neufeld calls the collecting of children. And once you understand it, you'll start to see it everywhere, or notice how often it's missing. Collecting is a word he uses to describe the act of drawing a child back into orientation with you. Not commanding them, not lecturing them, not rewarding them, but gathering them, the way a warm-hearted adult naturally gathers an infant's attention. Eye contact that says I see you. A smile that says you are welcome here. A nod that says I am with you. These are not sentimental gestures. They are the biological foundation of all parenting authority. He maps out a 4-step attachment dance that works at every age, not just with infants. First, get into the child's space in a friendly way. Find them, be present with them, make your presence feel warm rather than demanding. Second, invite their dependency, signal that you are there to help, to carry, to support, not to push. Third, act as the child's emotional home base. Be the place they return to after venturing out into the world. Fourth, fulfill their attachment hunger. Really be there, not just physically but emotionally available. The key insight here is that we've been trained to think of parenting as something we do to children. Neufeld says it is first and foremost something we are to children. The parent who can collect their child, who can make the child want to be in relationship with them, will find that all the difficult things become easier. Discipline becomes less coercive. Teaching lands more readily. Even conflict becomes less destabilizing. He is specific about when collecting matters most, after any separation. The child who comes home from school needs to be collected before homework, before conversations about their day, before anything. The reunion itself needs to be honored. In many cultures, the greeting is a sacred ritual precisely because attachment understands the weight of separation. We've largely lost this ritual. We ask about homework before we've restored the bond. And then we wonder why the conversation goes badly. Neufeld also addresses something parents rarely hear said plainly. We need to stop pushing children toward each other and start drawing them back toward us. The entire culture assumes that peer contact is developmental, that socialization comes from being around other children. But what research actually shows, and what Neufeld has seen across 4 decades of clinical work, is that children who spend more time with peers become less social, not more. True socialization requires maturity. Maturity comes from the adult relationship. Children who are strongly attached to adults can eventually form genuinely mature friendships. Children who are peer-oriented form something that looks like friendship but is really a shared system of mutual dependence among people who cannot lead one another anywhere good. He makes one point here that may feel counterintuitive. Shyness in children is not a problem to be solved with more peer exposure. Shyness is an attachment force. It is the brain saying, I am not yet comfortable enough with this person to be open. Trying to overcome shyness by forcing peer contact is exactly backwards. The solution to shyness is always to deepen the child's attachment to the adults who care for them. When that happens, the shyness naturally resolves from the inside. And what about children who seem to be doing fine? The ones who are social, who seem confident, who appear independent. Neufeld offers a sobering reframe. Many of the traits we mistake for healthy development in peer-oriented children are actually warning signs. The child who seems too comfortable away from parents, the child who never needs anything from adults, the child who appears to have skipped childhood altogether, these are not signs of early maturity. They are signs that the developmental process has been short-circuited. True independence is an arrival, not a departure. It grows out of deep dependency, not its absence. So how do you actually rebuild the relationship when peer orientation has taken hold? Neufeld offers a clear, though not easy, answer. He says the work is not behavioral. It is relational. The first thing to understand is that you cannot discipline your way back into the attachment. Every time a parent relies on punishment, consequences, and coercion when the underlying attachment is already frayed, they push the child further away. They address the surface behavior by damaging the very thing that would prevent the behavior from arising in the first place. What Neufeld advocates instead is what he calls discipline that does not divide. The goal of all discipline, he argues, should be to preserve and strengthen the relationship, not to change behavior directly, but to remain the child's guide while doing so. This means leading with warmth before expectations. It means working with the natural emotions of frustration, sadness, and futility rather than trying to override them. And it means helping a child feel rather than perform. One of his most quietly radical ideas is about tears. When a child cries in genuine sadness, not in manipulation, but in real grief over something that cannot be changed, Neufeld says this is one of the most important moments in development. The tears mean the child's integrative mind is working. They are processing futility, allowing themselves to feel the sadness of something that did not go their way. The parent's job in that moment is not to fix the sadness or stop the crying. It is to stay present and witness it. Those tears, allowed to flow, produce what he calls adaptive change. The child moves. They let go. They become flexible. A child who cannot cry, who defends against all sadness, becomes rigid. They cannot adapt. They cannot learn from correction. They remain stuck in whatever isn't working. Neufeld is also thoughtful about the role of structure. He is deeply in favor of routines and rituals, not as tools of control, but as containers for connection. Mealtimes together, bedtime rituals, greeting rituals when a child comes home. Structures that create predictability and reduce the need for the parent to become the enforcer. Good structure makes good connection possible. Now to the question parents of adolescents ask most urgently: what do you do when you've already lost them? When the peer orientation is deep and the distance is wide? Neufeld's answer is patient and clear: you woo them back. You don't demand re-entry. You don't punish them into proximity. You create the conditions in which they might choose to come back. You lower the relational temperature. You find something, anything, that you can do together without conflict. You look for the warmth that's still buried under the defended exterior. You stay. He also encourages parents to recreate what he calls the attachment village, to cultivate relationships with the adults that children already spend time with. Teachers, coaches, extended family, family friends. If a child is always in the care of someone they are attached to, someone who holds the baton until we return, peer orientation has far less room to take root. This is not about eliminating peer contact. It's about ensuring that peer contact always happens within a web of adult attachment, never instead of it. His most memorable line is simply this: the only way to get peers to matter less is for us to matter more. There is no shortcut. There is no strategy that bypasses the relationship. The path back to your child runs directly through connection. Before we close, it's worth being honest about what this book does and doesn't do. Hold On to Your Kids is a genuinely important work. The framework it offers, peer orientation, attachment layers, the collecting dance, the role of tears in adaptation, these ideas have staying power. They explain things that other parenting theories don't. Why children raised with warmth and love can still become unreachable. Why consequences don't work the way the books say they should. Why teenagers who seem confident are often the most fragile. And Neufeld's core message, that what children need most is a working attachment with a caring adult, not social exposure to peers, is backed by significant developmental research. He draws on the work of attachment theorists going back to the mid-20th century, and the empirical thread is solid. But the book has real limitations. It can feel overwhelming for the parent who is already stretched thin. Neufeld is remarkably thoughtful about what children need, but less practical about the reality that many parents are working multiple jobs, navigating their own unhealed wounds, and operating without the extended family support that his vision of the attachment village requires. His answers are relational and wise, but they assume a level of available presence that many families genuinely cannot sustain. There is also a tension the book never fully resolves. It convincingly argues against early peer contact, daycare, and much of how modern schooling is structured, but it does not offer a fully workable alternative for the majority of parents who cannot homeschool or opt out of mainstream educational structures. The critique is clear. The reconstruction is harder. For parents wondering which books go deeper into the practical side, Neufeld's framework fills a specific gap that How to Talk So Kids Will Listen leaves open. That book is excellent on communication technique, but it doesn't address the underlying attachment architecture that makes communication possible in the first place. Neufeld gives you the foundation beneath the technique. And compared to Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids by Laura Markham, which was explored in an earlier episode, Neufeld offers a more sweeping theoretical framework while Markham goes deeper into moment-by-moment emotional regulation. Together, they form a remarkably complete picture of connected parenting. So here is what to carry into sleep tonight. Your child does not need more friends, more activities, or more peer exposure. What they need is to feel that you are their home. Not the building. Not the rules. You. The adult who has time to gather them back after every separation. Who greets them before asking anything of them. Who stays present even when they seem not to want it. Who matters to them more than their phone, more than their peers, more than the pull of a culture that tells them adults are obstacles. Neufeld ends the book with this: we must hold on to our children not to keep them from leaving, but so they can eventually leave well, rooted, oriented, capable of becoming their own persons. That is the gift beneath all the difficulty. Not compliance. Not control. Just the chance to remain a compass point long enough for a child to find true north. Sleep well. and we'll see you at Whispering Pages for the next one.